Hey there, and welcome back to the second part of this little extra feature in Chris's tutorial about set dressing. I have to start off by apologizing. I was just sitting here looking through the previous video, and my god, it is choppy when moving around inside UDK. I truly apologize. I don't see it chopping while recording. It must be an effect of the recording software. I hope you can live with it, though. Now for the more technical aspect of this little adventure, the material manipulation and visual scripting. Let's get to work. The first thing we're going to do is, if I show you, if I show you these lamps right here, as you can probably see, the material is actually blinking in and out on these lamps, which makes them kind of useless to us because we can't control our light sources according to the materials in these lamps. So what we have to do is we have to modify this material so that the light level in the material stays static. The first thing we're going to do to achieve this is that we're going to go into the content browser and we are going to select one of the lamps here and right click on it and find in content browser. It takes us to the asset in the content browser. Now I just double click the static mesh here to get into the properties of the mesh, and if you scroll down a little bit in LOD info and you expand the first element here and another element and the first material. Now here is the material that is assigned to this asset, and if we click the magnifying glass right here, it'll take us to the material of the asset. Now this material, as you can see here, it's blinking in and out. This material is what we need to change. But we don't want to change it, the original material. So what we're going to do is we're going to right click this and we're going to create a copy of it. And we are going to call this package Chris Map Assets. And no grouping. And let's see here, what could we call this name? Let's call it lamp material. Not that it really matters all that much. Okay, so it's taking us to this new package, which contains our copy here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to save the package real fast. There we go. And after I've done that, I'm going to double click the material here and I'm going to just maximize it. Now if you take a look right here, these three nodes right there, those are the ones giving us the problem. As you can see, this particular texture sample is animated. And that is what is giving us this blinking effect. So what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of these nodes like this, and then we're just going to put this one up there. Now as you can see, the material is a static color. We're gonna apply the changes, and we're gonna close the material editor. And that's it. Now this material will serve as the basis for all our lamps. The thing is though, we don't want all our lamps to flicker at exactly the same time and exactly the same interval and all that. So what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to create an instance for each and every one of these lamps. Let's see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lamps total, which means we're going to have to create 5 different instances of this lamp material here. So we can do that by right-clicking and create a new material instance. And it's very important, it says constant in the parentheses here. So let's go ahead and create the first one. Let's keep it in the same package. And let's call this one 001, lamp material instance 001, to signify that this is the first instance. And as you can see, it has already inherited the material from which you made an instance of. So what we're going to do now is that we're going to go into the parameter groups here and the vector parameters, and here we can actually set the color of the light source, or the shine of the lamp, or whatever you want to call it. So we're going to check this checkbox, and we're going to set the red to 0, the green to 0, and the blue to 0. And as you can see now, the lamp has absolutely no lighting whatsoever. That's kind of cool. So that takes care of our first instance. Now let's make another one. Call it 002. And same thing. And another one. Call it 003. And turn those off. And remember to check that checkbox. That's 1, 2, 3. 2 more. 004. And that's it. And the last one would be 005. And there we go. That takes care of that. What we're going to need to do now is we need to place some material instance actors around each lamp to hold our material instances. And we do that by opening the content browser, and we go to actor classes, and let's see if I can remember where it is. I do believe it's in uncategorized. Yep, there it is. And in material instance actor, make sure it's selected and shut down your content browser and simply start adding a material instance actor. That's kind of a big one. Let's reduce that a bit. 0.25. It's still too big. What about 0.1? Yep, that's better. I like that a lot better. Let's just place it around the light source so we know where it belongs. Or rather, which light source it's related to. And let's make another one. And 0.1. It doesn't really matter all that much about placing these correctly, as long as you know that it belongs to that specific light source. You'll be fine, because you can't see these material instance actors anywhere other than in the editor, so placement really doesn't matter. I'm just kind of anal about things like this. So there we go. That was 3 of them, I believe. Let's have number 4. Yeah. And whoops. And the last one. And there we go. Now what we need to do is we need to disable all these lights completely. So let's start by disabling this one. You double click the light source, of course. You expand light component, and expand point light component, and you collapse it again because I was wrong. There we go, it's in light component, and then you uncheck enabled. Once that is done, you open the content browser and you take the lamp material that you want to assign to that specific lamp, and you just drag it to the lamp, and there you go. You see, it's turned off in the material as well. So let's move on to the next one. It's fairly important that, whoops, I forgot something. Let's just go back to the first one here. And let's see here. We need to double click the material instance actor, of course, and make sure that you assign the material instance to that actor. And that's it for this one. Let's move on to the next lamp. We double click it. We disable it. We double click the material instance actor. We select the next material instance and assign it to the actor, and then you drag it to the lamp. There we go. Next one down here. This is the third one. So let's do let's disable. Double click the material instance actor. Make sure the third one is selected, assign it, and drag it to the lamp. And number 4, whoops, double click the lamp, disable the lamp, double click the material instance actor, make sure that number 4 select it, assign it, and drag it to the lamp. And the last one, it's getting kind of dark now that all the lamps are turned off. Let's see, where are we? There we go. This is the number 5. Double click the lamp, disable it, double click the material instance actor, and make sure number 5 is selected, and assign it, and drag it to the lamp. There we go. And we can shut down the content browser as well. Now what we can do to make this a little bit easier for us to roam around while we have to do all our stuff here is we can go to the unlit mode. And as you can see now, it's a little bit easier to see what's going on. You can always just switch back and forth if you need to see how things work. But for now we're going to be in unlit mode. Alright, next step is to set up our mechanics in Kismet. And we are actually going to have to set up 5 separate mechanics, but they're going to be pretty much identical except for the material instance and of course the asset that they're manipulating. So let's jump into it. Let's start by opening the Kismet window here, and we should probably start out. Whoops! Oh well, that was the backup feature. Let's start out by adding an event called. Oh, and you add an event by just right-clicking the background, and you go to New Event, and you go to Level Loaded. To move stuff around, by the way, you just hold down Control and left-click. And if you want to pan around, it's just left-click somewhere in the background or wherever you want, basically. If you want to move stuff, it's just hold down Control and left click. If you need to select something, just hold down Control and left click. Anyways, let's start up by setting up the first lamp here. What we want is whenever the level is loaded and visible, we need all these lamps to start flickering in a random pattern. Not only do the lamps or the materials of the lamps have to show whether or not the lamp is turned on and off, our light source needs to turn on and off so that the light turns on and off dynamically as you move through the level. One way we can do this is by adding something we call an action and a switch and random. What this does is that it randomly selects between however many outputs you set this function to have. So for now this only has one output, and I would say let's give it 4 outputs. So we will expand this section called the sequence action switch, and link count, let's set that to 4. And there we go. As you can see, it has 4 links now, or 4 outputs if you want. So let's start by dragging an arrow from loaded and visible into the input here. And that means that it will get a signal on the N here, and that function will then start to randomly select one output from these four. Now what we need it to do is that 3 of these outputs will make the lamp turn on and 1 will make it turn off, so that for every pulse we get on the input channel here, you will have 75% chance of turning on the light and 25% chance of turning off the light. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a new action. We're going to grab a toggle. Now what this toggle does is that, yeah, well, it does basically exactly what you'd expect it to do. So let's do it like this. Let's say that link 1, 2, 3 turns on the light. So let's drag these lines or connectors or whatever you want to call it, and link 4 turns it off. Now this toggle, as you can see, it has this target right here. It needs to know what to turn on and what to turn off. So what you're going to do is you're going to select your light source right here, make sure it's highlighted, and you're going to right click inside the Kismet, and then you're going to choose a new object variable using point light toggleable 6, or whichever number your point light toggleable has. And once that is done, you can see it added your light source right here. Once that is done, you just pull a connector from target to the point light toggleable. That's it. Now this is where it gets fun, because now we have the control of the lamp, which is fairly easy. That was simple enough. What we need to do next is that once it's done, let's say it turned it on. Well, what good is that going to do us if it only happens once? So we're going to take the output here, and we're going to move it all the way back to the input. This way. Let me see if I can just move it up a little so it makes a little bit more sense, or it's easier to see. There we go. So what will happen now is that when the level is loaded, we send a signal to the randomizer. It chooses one of the 4 here. It goes up here, and in this case it turns on our light here, and then it goes back here, meaning that a new signal is selected here, choosing one of these 4, and in this case turns it off, and so on and so forth. So it loops all the time, and it does this really quickly. So what we need to do is we need to put in a small delay between each loop. Otherwise UDK will start whining and moaning that you're flooding Kismet. So what we're going to do is we're going to right click the output thingy right here. We're going to choose set activate delay, and this delay is in seconds, so let's put it at 0.1 second, meaning that we actually do 10 of these loops a second, which is just fine. That's not an issue for UDK at all. Excuse me. Now what we need to do now now we've taken care of the light source, now we need to take care of the lamp, so that the lamp looks like it's turned on or turned off in relation to this light source. And we do that by using something called matinee, which is I'd say it's kind of like an animation tool that UDK uses. And I don't know if you saw it. I'm just going to remove it again. I right click right here and I choose new metadata. Now what metadata can do is that we can set up this editing or animation tool right here. It's for cinematics and stuff like that. You double click metadata and you get into the metadata editor here. What we need to do is first we add a group that we need to manipulate. So let's pick add new empty group and we'll call it light material. Now when I add this, please note that right here, see that? It added the group as a target. Now this is a problem because right now we had the static mesh actor, which is actually our lamp. We had that selected, so Matinee will automatically try to use that as a target, and we don't want that. So let's delete that one real quick and make sure we don't have anything selected out here. Okay, so now we have our light material group here. We right click that one and we need to add a vector material parameter track. A vector is basically a structure consisting of 3 numbers, which in our case could be red, green, and blue. So we're going to add a new vector material parameter track. It then gives us a warning because we don't have anything selected. So let's go ahead and say yes. And right here we can set up actually we already have it. Let's go ahead and shut this down real fast. Select our material instance actor right here. Right click here and make a new object variable. Now we can assign that to Matinee. Just gonna do it like that. And double click Matinee again. Now what we need, as you can see right here, it's asking for a parameter name, because it needs to know exactly which parameter we are going to manipulate. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up our content browser, and we have our original lamp material right here. If I double click that and go into our material editor and move right a bit, you can see right here we have our parameter. This is the parameter name. You can find it down here, which makes it a lot easier. I'm just gonna copy it by hitting Control C and shutting down the material editor and shut down the content browser as well. Now we can open Matinee again. Sorry. And we will go to our material parameter here and paste in the name of our parameter. Okay, so now it knows which parameter to manipulate, as well as the material. Remember, we linked that right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to click this little square thingy right here. That puts it up in the curve editor. I'm just going to maximize this one. Now what we need to happen, what we have down here is a time slider. And what we can do with this is we can do keyframe animation. So let's start by at 0 seconds we need to add a keyframe. There we go. And we want, I'm just going to zoom in a bit. We want it to take 5 milliseconds to go from an on to an off state, our material. So I'm going to add another keyframe at 5 milliseconds. Or actually, it's 50 milliseconds. Don't mind me. Okay, so far so good. Now we have our two keyframes here. Just gonna put it here so we can follow along here. Now what I'm gonna do is that right now you can see all our values are 0 at both 0 seconds and at 50 milliseconds. What we're going to do is we're going to move these values up to 1, making them at 50 milliseconds make the material white. So we're going to put that at 1, and the next one here, going to put that at 1, and the last one put that at 1. That means that at 0 seconds the color will be black because both the red, the green, and the blue channel will be 0. But at 50 milliseconds, all 3 channels will be 1, resulting in a white color. And that's pretty much it for Matinee. Now what we need to do is we need to link it up with our logic right here. Let's just move this out of the way so we can get a little order here, because we're going to have quite a few of these once we're done. Now, we know that Matinee turns our light on, which means that we should drag connectors from link 1, 2, and 3 to the play. That means that whenever we turn our light on, it needs to play this Matinee sequence. There's one thing we need to remember though that I actually forgot. We need to make sure that our animation is shortened so that it's not unnecessarily long, because that can give us severe problems. That's kind of strange. Oh, never mind. Never mind. That wasn't so strange anyways. There we go. That way our entire animation is only like a few milliseconds longer than what we need it to be, and it really shouldn't be any more than that, because whenever you start a Matinee animation, it will run until it reaches where this red arrow stops. In this case it would have been 5 seconds, and we only need 50 milliseconds. So that would mean that our lamp can't switch on and off fast enough. Anyways, once that is done, we need to remember that whenever we have turned this on, it will stop at the end of the animation sequence. But what when we want to turn it off? What are we going to do? Well, it's fairly simple. We just reverse the animation. That means it goes from from an on state to an off state. Fairly simple. And that's all there is to that right now. Now what I'm going to do, is I'm going to select all of this. You can do that by holding down Control and Alt and just drag a box around it. And I'm going to right click. And I am going to... Okay, maybe I'm not. There we go. New comment. Let's call it light 1. And we can do... yeah, let's just do like this. I'm wondering... Okay, well, never mind. Let's just move this. Or we can do like this. And let's move it up here. And there we go. Now what we can do now, actually we should probably just test it just for the fun of it. Let's do that. As you can see, we need to rebuild our lighting first, so let me do that real fast. And I will be pausing the computer or the recording while I'm rebuilding my light, so I will talk to you in a second. And there we go. Lighting has been built. Welcome back. I'm gonna switch to lit mode. As you can see, it's really dark here right now. But yeah, let's go ahead and test it, see what happens. So I'm just gonna right click somewhere on the ground and I will select play from here. And there we go. Let's have a look. See? That works beautifully. Now let's do it with the other lights as well. Well, you pretty much know the procedure now, so I will just move along, get it done. Open kiss, Matt. Actually, hang on a second. I'm wondering. Yep, you actually could control, or actually copy paste it. So why not make use of that? That was light 2. Light 3. Light 4. And, whoops. Light 5. Okay. Now, one thing we have to remember though is that when we do copy paste, it keeps whichever targets were set before. So right now we have a lot of mechanics controlling light number 1, which is pretty much useless to us. First of all, I'm gonna activate the second sequence here. I'm gonna rename it, if I'm allowed to. There we go. And call it Light 2. That works. I'm gonna make sure that our second light is selected in the scene. Yep, it is. And I'm gonna right click and assign point light toggleable 7 to object variable. There we go. I'm gonna make sure that my material instance actor is selected and right click down here and assign that to the object variable. And that should be it. Next. Activate the section. Rename it to Light 3 just to make sure that it's the right one we're at. I'm just going to move down to Light 3, which is down here. Make sure this one is selected. Right click, assign. This one selected. Right click, assign. And next. This could be kind of interesting. Let's see here. If you want to zoom in and out, just hold down both the left and the right mouse button. Right now I'm just gonna drag these connectors real fast, just get it over with. Okay, so that was Light 3. We're done with Light 3. Let's go to Light 4. Rename this one to Light 4. Make sure the lamp is selected. Right click, assign. Make sure the material instance actor is selected. Right click, assign. And last lamp. Called Light 5, and make sure the lamp is selected. Right click, assign, and material instance, right click, assign. And that's pretty much it. We're done with the Kismet. Now that was fairly simple. Let's go ahead and see if it works. So I'm going to switch back to lit mode. Right click the ground and play from here. There we go. All the lights are blinking on and off. Looking good. And that's it. Hopefully Chris is happy now. So anyways, I hope you found this informative, and thank you for watching, and hopefully I'll talk to you on 3D Palace. You take care of yourself. Bye.